Hi, and welcome back to the Cozy Lung Lounge. My name is Kelly Lewis.
I'm Amy Sheldon.
And I'm Gina Hoots.
What's our topic today, ladies?
We're going to talk about self-care. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm in the sandwich right now. My parents are sick. I got all these kids. There's no hope for me to take care of myself. And last week I talked about a grandparent who I met in the emergency room waiting room who was full-time caregiver for her 3-year-old and 7-year-old grandchildren. We also had a conversation about how impossible it is for us to do our own self-care in the midst of being pulled 12 directions, while at the same time knowing that we're doing damage to our own brains and body. How can you help me? How can you guys help me with this problem?
I think just self-scheduling of some time for you. Just first of all, identifying what is missing. So if you are in that situation where you are taking care of parents and kids, or you are taking care of kids and grandkids, and you're like, what's missing? What do you wish that you had time to do? If you just want 5 minutes of peace, could you take a bath instead of a shower? Just to make you feel like you've got a little bit of downtime rather than hurry, hurry, hurry. I got to get out before something happens out there, right? Could you schedule some time? I'm just finding things, I don't know, little things. I have patients tell me who take care of their grandkids, I don't have time to trim my nails. I don't have time to wash my hair. I don't have time to eat properly. I don't have any time to meal prep. I don't have any time to exercise. So where could you sneak in some of those things? So for example, taking better care of yourself with meal prep. Could you buy, for example, carrots that are already cut up rather than spending the time cutting them? Yes, they're a little more expensive, but they exist and you're worth it. Spend the money on yourself. Vegetables that are already cut up, frozen vegetables that are already cut up. In the freezer section, chicken that's already been cooked, chicken strips that are cooked. You don't have to do anything. They're already seasoned. Just throw them in the oven. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but just things that are already done for you that you could sneak in and make you feel like, I was able to get it all done today.
Absolutely. I like something that you said when you were talking, which is that you are worth it. It is so important with everyone's busy schedule and everything going on and things that people rely on you for. It's really hard to find time for yourself. And I've talked to people about this a lot on social media and also in the work that I do and day in and day out. And people just say, I don't have time. Other people rely on me. I've got to go do these things. And you have to tell them and sometimes remind them, it's important to remember that you are worth it and your time to yourself is so valuable, and making sure that you can go and give back to others. Because if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not doing the things that you need to do to make yourself feel good, you can't give back to others.
Even if it's something simple, just reading a book. You've got a book that you're trying to read and get through. And I remember one of my patients telling me that she used the timeout method with her grandkids. If they misbehaved, they had a timeout in the corner. And she had these 3 grandkids, I don't know, running circles around here. And she just said, Grandma needs a timeout. And she went in her room and shut the door. And those 3 kids kind of stood there for the 5 minutes that she was in there. And for those 5 minutes, she read a chapter of her book. So finding creative ways to give you what you need, just when you need a break.
Very nice. I tend to forget about those times, those 5-minute breaks I had for myself. And as a survivor of burnout, this is a real issue for caregivers and people who don't have self-care. Burnout is just a really big factor out there. So having a success journal is really important. It doesn't have to even be anything that fancy. If you just scroll through your phone, get into the habit of taking a picture when you're doing something relaxing, so that when you go back in your phone, you look, okay, yeah, I did do this. I did do this. Yes, I've done this also. But when you're in the midst of so much overwhelm, you forget that you did take those 5-minute breaks. So jotting it down in a success journal or snapping a picture really can help you realize, yeah, I've had a few more breaks than I realize.
Absolutely.
One of my other hats is a sleep educator. And for my burnout, the one thing I knew I had control over was sleep. And so for the past probably year, I've really been prioritizing going to bed no later than 10 o'clock rather than trying to do projects into midnight and 1 o'clock. And having at least 6 hours of sleep has really changed my health, my mindset, my endurance. And if I don't get that 6 hours of sleep, I can really feel it. So watching how your body feels is really important. You may feel like you're missing out on activities when you're going to sleep and not watching that favorite movie, but the payoff is so much better in the end.
And Gina, you bring up a really good point about sleep. And as you mentioned, going to bed at 10 o'clock rather than finishing projects. And sometimes those projects is just housework. And if you could find a neighborhood high school kid who would help you out for a couple of hours, it doesn't have to be between 10 and midnight, but somebody during the day after school who would come. What are those things that are keeping you up late? I got to put school lunches together. Oh, I've got to do laundry. Oh, I didn't start the dishwasher. I'll do that tomorrow. And you pile these things on yourself. Could you get some help, even if it wasn't paid help, if you can't afford paid help? Somebody from your church or somewhere that would come help you just for an hour a day and just do one thing. Could they just start and finish one load of laundry? Just one thing that would take that off of your plate so you could go to bed at 9 or 10 o'clock and get a full night's sleep. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
You may have somebody offering for help. What can I do to help you? And you don't know what to do. People would be happy to do any number of little tasks if you just tell them what to do. Boy, I could really help you. If you came over and hung out with me for a half an hour while we folded laundry together, we could talk to each other and get some of my work done at the same time. Those are really good strategies.
And not only can you have somebody come and help you from outside the family, also think about who may be living with you, whether it's your significant other or your children or whoever it may be. You can also say, you know what, I'd love to spend some quality time with you. Can we fold a load of laundry while we're watching the movie so that we can kind of multitask, still do the things we want to do and get those things done?
Absolutely. Kelly talked about prepping. I know that if I don't do some sort of meal prep on Sunday, you can almost guarantee the rest of the week will descend into very unhealthy habits and poor eating. When you eat healthy whole foods, you have more energy. When you descend into soda with caffeine and sugar, desserts, you get a lot of blood sugar spikes and crashes. And you really end up feeling worse after that crash than you did with the boost from the caffeine and sugar.
Even just to ask yourself as the caregiver, are you eating at all? Are you so intent on feeding the kids and the husband never really learned how to cook? Us, speaking as women, tend to be those caregivers. And we're afraid to ask, Amy, as you said, other members of the household, hey, could you do this one thing for me? Or could we do this together? And just make this so that when it's time to assemble it all into a dinner or a school lunch or a breakfast or something, it's done. But don't forget to eat and fuel yourself well as well. And water. Don't forget to hydrate.
Having those ready to go, little snack packs or things that you know are easy to eat that are healthy, hard-boiled eggs, a pack of cheese and nuts. Having those easy to grab to fuel yourself, especially if you have forgotten the self-care for the day, is really important.
I want to bring up another point about that. Some of those food items are great and they're healthy, but they can also become very expensive. And I discovered in my neighborhood, I belong to a Facebook group called Buy Nothing. And in the Buy Nothing group, the idea is you buy nothing. You have an excess of something, you put it on there, you post it as a gift. I'm going to gift this. If you need something, you ask. And they break you up into communities. And what I discovered was there are a lot of people in this group that go to food banks. There's 1 million food banks around. So people would come on to this Facebook Buy Nothing group for our area and say, I have 5 bags of frozen chicken nuggets. I have 4 bags of frozen this. I have 10 cans of peas. I don't know, whatever it is. And they give them away, what they don't need. So they would go to the food bank, get whatever they were getting, but go ahead and proceed to give it away to the community. So it's a great community resource. If you don't have time to go to a food bank and you don't have the money to buy healthy snacks and healthy ingredients, see if you can join one of these groups. I believe there's also similar groups on Nextdoor. If you don't belong to those groups, consider joining that and figure out what you could ask for and what you need to be on the lookout for to help you take care of your family.
I've got one area of self-care that we've not talked about, and that's staying in touch with your primary care provider or other healthcare practitioner. You're not going to bother them if you have a problem. If you are dizzy and have a headache, that may mean your blood pressure is elevated. We need to take care of your blood pressure so that you don't have a stroke. It's important to tell your provider that earlier rather than later. Take the time to give them a call. Even easier is a very quick My Chart message. You can message back and forth with your provider, but you do want to make sure that they know about any symptoms you're having because that's super important.
Some other symptoms are being overly tired, being overly short of breath, swollen ankles, essentially anything that looks different from normal or feels different from normal. Don't be afraid to call your doctor and leave a message or send a message versus an email, and just let them know that something's changed. There's nothing wrong with doing that.
I hear a lot, oh, it'll be fine if I wait a couple of days. Much of the time it's not. Just let us know as healthcare providers. We'll let you know. Not a big deal, or please let's get you seen.
And speaking of health, the other piece that we don't talk about quite as much sometimes is mental health. And it's really important to find different ways to take care of your mental health, not just your physical, throughout your day-to-day. And some of the things that I have found that are really helpful for me, especially trying to go to bed, sometimes my head races and I've got to find ways to help myself fall asleep, is to create a to-do list for the next day. Say, you know what? I could do these things right now, or I could allow myself to relax and go to bed and let my body heal, and I can push these things to tomorrow. And so then I know that I go to sleep with that to-do list, and I say, it's pushed to tomorrow. I won't forget anything, and it will be fine. And then if you still can't fall asleep or you're still stressed, there's always different meditations that you can do, mindfulness exercises. It's also really helpful to do deep breathing or even just stretching before bed and just taking 5 to 10 minutes to kind of unwind. Those kind of things are really important to do, whether it's before bed or at whatever time that you'd like to throughout the day, just to help yourself kind of relax and regroup if you've got a busy schedule, if you're stressed and there's a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea to unwind before bed. I like to use an app on my phone. The YouTube on the TV has free meditations, but that's a very good way that even if I don't want to go to sleep, I can put on a meditation. Generally, I'm asleep before it ends. You were talking about mental health. If you're still employed, many employers offer employee assistance programs. I am a firm believer in those. I like to have a counselor on hand to talk to about things. If you're not employed for an employee assistance program, much of the time you can get some mental health through your health insurance. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to and unload your worries.
I think that also comes under the category of social wellness. Don't forget about your friends. It pays to check in with them once in a while. There's nothing wrong with calling somebody and say, hey, I have 2 minutes to talk, but hey, I just wanted to check on you. I hadn't talked to you in a minute. How are you? Okay, gotta go. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not being short with them. That's just how much time you have when you're got your family, your kids, your grandkids around.
I have heard a quote that says, close relationships will get you to 100 more reliably than a flu shot will. And so when you look at statistics of people that are 100, close personal relationships really are what sustains you all of those years.
I love that. And one thing that, speaking about those relationships that I actually do is I have long drives home from work a lot of times. And so my thing that I like to do now on my way home is if I am, awake enough and if I have enough social battery, one thing I like to do is think of one or two people to call during that time, because it's still my drive home. I have to do it anyway. Instead of listening to music, I can take that time to actually speak with people and talk to my sister who lives down in Florida and my parents, and so that I can keep that close relationship. And it just makes me feel good when I got home that I was able to catch up with everybody.
That's also, if you're not able to do that driving because you've got Radio Disney playing in the background, you can also do it that during your 5-minute break. When you're taking those 5 minutes to yourself, call a friend, text a friend. This is how I'm thinking about you. Hope everything's good. They may reply, they may not, but that's all right. Your social wellness is very important.
I have learned when somebody pops into my brain, send that quick text message, because it does make a difference with people. Oh, calling of that, there's my adult daughter calling probably to download her day.
All right. Anything else about self-care that we want to talk about for the upcoming year? I think we touched on a lot of topics today.
I'd like our listeners to weigh in if you agree with some of these topics, or if you have other things that you might want answers to, or even a tip to give to the other audience members. Please reach out to us.
Absolutely. And of course, like every podcast, I just want to mention exercise. It's so important, especially with the new year. Everybody likes to make resolutions. And one thing that people don't realize is that you don't have to do an hour-long workout. If you've only got 5 minutes, take 5 minutes to do squats, or take 5 minutes to do some sit-ups, or find 5 minutes to take a little walk around the block. Even if you just have that short period of time, if you break it up throughout the day and throughout the week, those are still good workouts, and they're better than nothing, and it can really be a way to make you feel good and to get the exercise in that you really need without having to spend a whole hour at the gym.
Amy, my favorite exercise brain breaks are dancing in the house to something like Casey and the Sunshine Band or Rage Against the Machine. Those really can get me
I
going.
love that. That's awesome.
My favorite 2-minute exercisers are wall push-ups. So if you've got a wall or a counter, a kitchen counter, and you've got 4 more minutes on that timer before whatever in the oven is done, just putting your hands against the wall or on a counter and doing some light push-ups. And then also some squats against the wall with your back against the wall. And just a gentle little slide down and back up again and back up again. Work those legs, and next thing you know, you've got your workout done.
Or one of my things that I like to work with on patients is using commercial breaks on the TV if they like to watch a lot of TV. During your commercial breaks, you can even do it sitting on the couch. Just do some high knees, do some arm circles, stuff like that, just to get yourself moving. And that gives you that short bit of time where you can get exercise in, and then you get to rest for a minute.
There's ways to squeeze it in. There are. Have to get creative.
This has been very inspiring. I'm going to work on ways to get some self-care in every day, whether it's just 10 minutes. Very inspiring, ladies. Thank you for your help.
Absolutely. Well, with the new year coming up, we just wanted to remind you to really focus on not only taking care of your physical health, but your mental health, and really making self-care a priority for you in the new year.
And if you have any questions about exactly how to go about it, making a list, prioritizing it, remember we're available in the coaching section on bluezone.health.
This is quite a cliche, but let's thrive in 2025.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.